Listener-supported St. Gabriel Catholic Radio AM 820 brings you Family Sanctuary, a show that inspires living the gospel message in word and deed within our families. And now, Family Sanctuary with host Peggy Hartshorn.
Welcome to the Family Sanctuary, focusing on life-giving relationships and the family. I'm your host, Peggy Hartshorn, chairman of Heartbeat International, that advances life-affirming pregnancy help around the world. And today we have a very special and unusual program in that we have a wonderful couple with us. Now, we've had other programs with wonderful couples, but this one is on couple healing after abortion. And for those of you out there who really think about and pray about this whole issue of abortion, the tragedy of it for the unborn, you probably have already realized what a tragedy it is as well for women who have abortions, for the fathers of those children, and perhaps you've heard some powerful testimony, which I have, but hearing from a couple who experienced an abortion. Now, this was before they married, but they married, they had additional children, and it's been years, actually, before they really looked into how that abortion was not only affecting their relationship, but their family as well. And they sought healing and just have a wonderful story to share. So I want to welcome our guests today, Joe and Tim Welsh. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. And Joe and Tim are members of St. Mary Parish in Lancaster. Mm-hmm. And the name may be a little bit familiar. Tim Welsh has spent many, many years working in the pro-life movement with Ohio Right to Life, then PDHC, and now with Bethesda Healing. And Joe has also been active in many outreaches, now with the Bottoms Up Baby Drive. Yep. So thank you for that, Joe.
Yep.
So, and they're well known in Lancaster, well known in their parish. And I'm sure that for a long time was something that maybe kept this abortion in your past more of a secret. Maybe you wondered how would that be accepted by the people that we know and deal with, and particularly in pro-life. So let me ask Joe to start us out. Joe, what was it that finally caused you to, first of all, seek healing, and then really make this experience in the past something that you could talk about and that you could make public to help other people? What kind of brought you to that point, would you say?
I think it was years of just knowing there was something missing in my marriage, in our relationship, and with our kids. There's, just keeping a hold of a secret for so long, it really makes it difficult to have really deep relationships with my husband, with my children, with God. Mm-hmm. So I came to this decision to seek healing. Now, it's been since 2011 that I started on this journey of healing. So it wasn't an overnight thing for me to come out and talk about it. But we really just, Tim encouraged me, of course, and supported me throughout all the healing. And it has made such a difference in me personally and in our marriage. In our marriage, mm-hmm. that it's really kind of hard to explain. It's that kind of butterfly, giddy feeling that you have, that you're like, oh, I have a new life, I have a new freedom. So wow. It's been amazing.
Yeah, as you and I talked about this before the program, I think you said the main thing that comes to mind is freedom. That mm-hmm. word freedom, something that just really shackled you in many ways. The secret that you had, mm-hmm. and the hurt from the abortion, the shame, the wondering, I suppose, because I've heard the story from so many women, knowing that, yes, God has forgiven you, but still having those thoughts, can you forgive yourself?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And I went to confession, and I thought I would be skipping out of the confession. Oh, I'm healed. Mm-hmm. But there was so much that I just kept hold of that I couldn't share with anyone. And I don't know, maybe people looking at me might not have noticed that. But it was always just kind of I built up this wall around my heart, I guess. That's the best way to describe it. And over time, it just, it got higher and higher. And I just thought, well, this is the way it is. This is life.
Yeah.
And so letting go of that was absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And it was difficult to take that first step.
I'm sure.
It was very scary.
Did you do it by making a phone call?
Yes, I did. I called and I saw it. Actually, I saw Bethesda information in the Catholic Times, and I saw it there and saw it there.
More than once.
It kind of kept jumping off the page at me, right? And then I just did it. Tim took me, drove me there. I think I probably would have turned around in the parking lot and gone home had he not dropped me off. But it was so warm and inviting. The women there were just wonderful. But I was so afraid because I thought, I'm going to know somebody here.
Yeah.
And then they're going to know. But, the reality is if they were there, they
had similar feelings. Absolutely. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And we should say, really, abortion has been so prevalent in our culture since 1973 that at one point it was 1 out of 3 pregnancies ended in abortion, and then 1 out of 4. Yeah. Now numbers are down, and it's a little bit less than 1 out of 5. But there are many people who will say in any group of Christian women, Catholics, mainline Protestants, evangelicals, 1 out of 4, at least women, 1 out of 4 women will have had abortions. And of course, think of the men as well involved in those abortions. And most are still holding that in and not having the freedom. We want to really focus in on the show. You mentioned, Joe, the couple intimacy, the intimacy in your family, and your relationship with God. All the relationships were affected by this. So we want to get into that. Before we do specifically, though, I want to ask Tim, because obviously this was something that you shared. This was an abortion that occurred before you got married. How did you also feel shackled by that? That's what Joe said. She always felt like there was something shackling her and a barrier, a wall that she had built up.
Men have such a completely different experience in the abortion space that even just the physicalness of it. I mean, even just the smells and the going to the facility and the invasion physically and all of that.
You don't experience that.
Men do not experience that. And they also, even if they did, they process things completely different than a woman does, right? They process things completely differently. And so my experience was not very as profound as Joe's. What I did recognize a need for healing was not, and by the way, we didn't know. I mean, golly, we're going through marriage and we're just kind of plodding along and having kids and stuff. We didn't really
working hard at that. Yeah.
We didn't pinpoint this, and for 34 years we didn't say, and I mean this quite literally, not a single word about the abortion. Not one word between the two of us. Never talked about it. Never even got close to it. But I think the thing, looking back retrospectively, the thing that I recognized that needed healing was our relationship, not necessarily just me, but just our relationship, because I didn't have the same experience that Joe did. I mean, men just don't. We have regret and we have sorrow, but we don't have quite the pain, I don't think, or quite we may have some remorse, but we don't have that deep-seated, all-encompassing, all-sensual pain that a woman can go through with an abortion. So
I've heard that a lot of men eventually realize that it as the protector and provider, that sense, I'm sure, is so strong in you, Tim. I mean, I know how you are with your children. And then the realization hits them, I didn't protect this child. They feel, what do I want to say? Maybe that's a main source of regret.
Yeah, but that's a really good question. I think I was more interested in protecting Joe than the child.
It's a good point.
I mean, honestly, I because when she came to me and said that I'm pregnant, I'm going to go have an abortion, and her memory of that is that she wasn't giving me any choice at all. I have a slightly different recollection of it, but I just said, okay, whatever your decision is, I'll be there for you. I'll support you in that. That was viewed by her as being abandonment. I was thinking I was doing what every man would do for the woman in his life, and let her make her own decisions and all that. But she viewed it as being abandonment, and really, I think ultimately what she wanted me to say is that no, we can do this. That we will do this, and we love each other enough that we can make this work. Mm-hmm. And I didn't say that. Mm-hmm. So that is the protection of her more than the child in the womb. And because frankly, at that time in my life, I was 21, 22-ish.
Mm-hmm. And what year was that?
I wasn't thinking about the
Because I'm thinking even our knowledge of fetal development, our knowledge of the effects of abortion, was nothing like it is today. I'll say that.
1977. Yeah. 1977.
So fairly soon after the Supreme Court decision. Yeah. Well, let's talk about this wonderful sense of freedom, because I was interested in your comment, Tim. I mean, in a sense, and maybe Joe also, you didn't realize there was maybe a lot missing in your relationship. I mean, you had a big family, extended family, you had children, you were working hard at creating a good family, which you did. And yet, once, Joe, you began to open up about this and tear down some of those barriers that you had built up. Let's talk about, maybe it was a surprise to you in a way, and maybe a surprise to Tim, of how that would change your relationship, create much more intimacy. Tell us about that feeling of freedom you had between you and Tim.
Yeah, certainly. It definitely changed. It was more gradual, just because of the process and kind of accepting your accepting your flaws and your sins. It's hard to look at yourself and do that, but it just gave us a more open relationship to talk about things. I was always very, controlling is the best word I can come up with. Controlling, I wanted people to view him as perfect and our relationship as perfect, because I didn't want anyone to know about anything that, about my abortion. So once I started to kind of let go of that, it just was an opening. And it sounds strange that you've been, you're married for 34 years and we talked about things, but it was the immediate,
sure,
things that
not the deep, dark feelings you had.
Right. Mm-hmm. So once kind of delved into that, it really just opened up our relationship, I think. More, but I think probably this year when I shared my story at the Bethesda banquet and ultimately told our children, that was really that was huge. I mean, that has really changed my life more than I can even.
Big difference in your family. Yeah. Well, if you've just tuned into our show, let me reintroduce our guests, who are Joe and Tim Welsh. Married 41 years, congratulations, in St. Mary Parish in Lancaster, Ohio. And I maybe should have said at the beginning, actually, my family and the Welsh family were very close friends when we were all growing up. And so I've known Tim for, I don't know exactly when, Tim.
You don't have
we
to
were little
say.
kids. And Joe, I was so tickled to meet Joe eventually, because I just love Joe as well. And what a beautiful couple. And then to learn about their abortion experience, to me, has just been, it's such a beautiful story. A couple that so many people look up to and have looked up to through the years. I can imagine how difficult that was to make this a public story, and yet how beautiful that you could be so honest with yourselves, and that it's brought you closer as a couple and closer as a family, which is wonderful. Yeah. Now, again, that coupleness that you have can be even more impactful, I believe, because what couple out there is perfect? Absolutely none of us, right?
Even though we think we are most of the time.
Or like to present ourselves
That's
as.
Exactly right.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Well, let's talk about how it affected. You mentioned you only recently told your children. Mm-hmm. I'm sure that is a barrier for a lot of couples. Yeah. Even if it wasn't an abortion that you had as a couple, as a barrier, I know it's a gigantic barrier for women. Mm-hmm. How do you tell your children, and what are they going to say? And yet, I know, Joe, you've said it. That's great freedom again in family intimacy. So tell us about that.
Yeah, sure. It was really because I was speaking at the banquet that I thought, when I started on this journey, I thought, I'm not telling the kids. I know I can.
Hopefully they won't ever hear about it from someone else.
I'll die and it'll be okay. But I ended up I called the girls and told them, and I was just blown away by their love for me. And because I'd spent so many years like, when would be the right time? When, it can't be at the holidays. It can't, you make up those excuses when you have to have a hard conversation. And they were just amazing. And the boys were the same way. I called them each on the same day. And just their love for me was really amazing. And I feel like it's made us, it's just opened up. Nothing's really different, I don't think, but just for the fact that I told them that I wasn't perfect when maybe all these years they thought I was.
Or you were hoping they would think you were, of course.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, I made some mistakes. Yeah. But it has just changed our relationships. I feel like they're more open to me now when they're into something. I have the girls call me in tears, and they're experiencing something, and they need their mom.
Oh, good.
And so it's just opened up those kind of conversations and that feeling. I don't know. Tim may have something to add to that, but it was truly amazing, and it brings tears to my eyes just talking about it. You can tell in my voice.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you, Joe. What about you, Tim? Were you a little hesitant for Joe to tell the kids?
Well, I was mostly hesitant because of the effect it would have on her more than anything, and we actually, it was the Monday before the Thursday of the Bethesda banquet. We knew we had to do it for like months in advance, and here we were 3 days away, and we're saying, tonight's the night.
At least you had a deadline.
Well, and kind of a funny story is Clara was the first one that she called. She tried to put together a conference call between the two girls, and Clara and Casey, and Casey's the oldest, and she that didn't work out. So she called Casey, and Casey said, "I can't talk right now." She didn't answer her phone and sent a text back, I think, or something. And so she got in touch with Clara, and Clara, told her the whole story about everything. And in the meantime, Clara is texting her sister Casey, "You have got to call Mom." So
I don't care what you're doing.
Yeah, whatever. Drop everything and call Mom. So it was really a cathartic thing. I mean, it was really it was really nice, and you could just kind of see the weight just having been lifted. It was palpable that there was a difference in Jo, the way she laughed and the way she talked and the way she carried herself even. And, I just, today she laughs a lot more than I've ever, sometimes more than I want her to laugh.
And usually at Tim. So.
And she's usually laughing at me and not really with me. But it's just, it was just so, I think the boys kind of react to their father the same way they always kind of have. We've had a lot of mitigating things. I was diagnosed with prostate cancer at one point, so there's a lot of mess in there that sort of made things a little different between me and the kids as well, and
they found out that their dad was vulnerable.
Yeah,
in that way.
That he's not going to be around forever. That was the other thing that they kind of have come to grips with. So, and that we, as much as Dad tells you what to do and make sure you stay on the straight and narrow, he did not, at one point, and it's okay if you stray a little bit, because you can't out-forgive God. I mean, it's just the way it is. So. And that's a great lesson for the kids, I think.
Yeah. It would have been nice had I come to this realization a little earlier.
One thing you said, Joe, was you think that perhaps keeping this secret created a family sense of the need for perfection, pressure for perfection.
Oh, absolutely.
When they were growing up.
Yeah.
So that's maybe why you're saying it would have been nice for them maybe to have known this earlier.
Right. Well, and I think we all have that, Tim's family, prominent family, and, I wanted my children to be perfect. I wanted everyone to think we were perfect, and our marriage and everything. I wanted their grades to be perfect. I wanted them to have perfect relationships and, no mess, but that certainly came along with it. But, it's not like I was a tyrant or anything.
No.
But I just, I had expectations, and they knew, do not disappoint your mother.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Well, and that again, the word you kept using, freedom.
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
me, that's the great takeaway from your story, the great freedom that you feel with Tim in your couple relationship with your children. And then what about your relationship with God? That's opened up too, according
absolutely.
to your story.
Yeah, I just, I was always just a little timid about my relationship. I knew all the talking points that God forgives me and everything, but it wasn't until I went through the healing process that I really realized that that's true, and I need to accept it. And it's just, I guess maybe for years I was feeling like I didn't feel like I could be too pious, because if somebody knows my past, then, they're like, what right does she have to be like that? You know what I mean?
It would appear hypocritical, perhaps.
Yeah, it's, the craziness in my head all these years. And, but just getting rid of all that, and we all have stuff.
Mm-hmm. And isn't it amazing how many people feel that way, though, that somehow I'm not good enough to be a friend of Jesus, when the people that he hung out with were great sinners, weren't they? Except for Mary and Joseph.
Right.
Really, that's the story of his life, of welcoming sinners and traveling with them, and Mary Magdalene, of course, and we know that the apostles weren't sinless, that's for sure, the stories of their doubt. And so it is amazing, isn't it, how the devil, I believe,
absolutely,
causes people, particularly who've had abortions, to think that this is somehow an unforgivable sin. Yeah. And it keeps us away from him.
Yes.
It keeps us away from the people who love us the most. Yeah.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And I guess when I started my healing journey, I realized that the devil's been sitting in my head for all these years, and just keeping me from that relationship with God, because that ultimately, he doesn't want that, because he doesn't want love. Mm-hmm. So, he was keeping me from that. And it just realizing that has just opened up so much in my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm thinking, and there are now, praise God, many opportunities for getting healing after abortion. Bethesda now that Tim is heading up, Bethesda Healing. The website, I believe, is BethesdaHealing.org.
Yep.
Yes, and then PDHC, the Pregnancy Decision Health Centers, has support groups and healing weekends as well. So there are lots of different kinds of opportunities, but the important thing is taking that first step.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and that first step is really, really hard. I mean, there are people that come to Bethesda and sit in the parking lot and never come in for the first one or two times. They just don't. It's too scary because it's similar to the alcoholic that goes to his first AA meeting. He or she does not want to see somebody that they know. I mean, they just don't want to see people because they're ashamed and they feel guilty and they're beaten down by the devil himself and by their own sort of psyche and they walk in and they just suddenly it becomes, maybe not in the first meeting, but in the second or third meeting, it just becomes like they just exhale.
Yeah,
you can
so
breathe.
welcoming. And Tim, you did take Joe, as she said, to Bethesda Healing. Here's where your protective instinct came in.
Well, little known secret, I almost turned around. So,
well, yay God for your courage, and both of you, and your courage to share your story. I know it will make a difference for many people out there. So thank you, Joe and Tim Welsh, for being with us today. And you are all listening to St. Gabriel Catholic Radio with archives at stgabrielradio.com under Family Sanctuary. And we do have other programs on post-abortion healing in our archive, so hopefully you'll consult those as well. We're streaming live on stgabrielradio.com, and our program, The Family Sanctuary, is broadcast at 4 o'clock every Saturday and 2 o'clock on Sundays. So please join us again to strengthen our families and make them sanctuaries of life as God intends.
Family Sanctuary is a production of listener-supported St. Gabriel Catholic Radio, AM 820. Archives of Family Sanctuary with Peggy Hartshorn are available at stgabrielradio.com.